the HRSA learns, works, and ideates on the stolen lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam First Nations.
My co-host and I are settlers on this land and commit ourselves to furthering the TRC calls to action and our understanding of Indigenous sovereignty, rights, and title in our work.
Whether you're currently a student or already well into your career, it can be troubling to find ways to diversify your professional background. Well, today's episode is all about the Chartered Professional Human Resources Designation, or CPHR for short, a holistic program providing a up-to-date qualification on all things HR.
Welcome to HR Secrets Season 3, Episode 2, a professional upgrade, obtaining your CPHR designation. Today's episode is sponsored by CPHR BC and Yukon.
My name is Amara Siddiqui, and I'm one of your co-hosts for this episode. I'm a first-year student in BD looking to concentrate in human resources and operations.
And I'm Amira Shkala, the co-host for today, and I'm also going to be External Relations Coordinator here at HRSA. I'm a second year in business, looking to major in international business and marketing.
Now we have our professional for tonight's episode, Quinne Davey. Quinne is here to share her experience and insights on obtaining your CPHR designation for students interested in this professional upgrade. Hi, Quinne. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. So just to start, please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your role at CPHR BC and Yukon.
Great. I'd be happy to. So I am a member relations manager at CPHR BC and Yukon, representing the Lower Mainland. So I help members and future members with their career information, resources, and I get to help students like yourselves and those interested in HR learn more about the association, the profession, and the designation.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you here, and all of the above things that you listed is going to be perfect for our listeners. So to hop into our first question, what does the CPHR process look like for students?
Well, it's going to be different for everybody. We have 5 different pathways to earn your designation. So it really depends on your education and your background and your experience. But I would say for most students, so if we're talking about students at SFU, they'd be looking at going through our first pathway, which is the degree path. And there's 5 steps for that. I'll go over them really quickly, really briefly. But you would become a member of the association. You have to have 9 competency courses completed, and some of those could be completed through your studies at SFU. And then when you have those 9, you can then challenge and write our national knowledge exam. Once you've passed the knowledge exam, you become a CPHR candidate. The other requirement is that you have a degree. And so obviously being a student and completing your degree at SFU would qualify. And then finally, we look at experience. And so with the degree path, you need to show 3 years of HR experience. 1 year can be administrative, so a maximum of a year, and then 2 years can be at what's called the advisory level. So those are the 5 different things that you would be required to do in order to earn your full designation. Once you've sort of submitted your experience to us, then you earn your full CPHR designation. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. As I said, there's 5 different pathways. So you could have a non-degree path, there's an accredited path, there's a master's path, and then there's an executive path. So I encourage people to check out the details on our website, which goes into a little bit more detail than that, but that is what you'd be looking for, and how the steps would go through when you're looking to earn your designation.
Awesome. Thanks so much. For each of these pathways, like on average, how long about does it take in terms of like time? And is there like a specific one that might take longer?
That's a good question. Again, it's going to depend on where you're at. Our exams run twice a year, and we do validation of experience. So that's that last step. We do that intake 3 times a year. So, for students maybe who have working experience already, sometimes they can do the whole process within a year. for student or for people who don't have any experience and still need to earn their experience, it can take a couple of years. You have up to 10 years to earn your experience. So I would say that's the part that kind of takes the longest if you don't have any experience, because obviously you need that in order to get your full designation. But the good thing is that the halfway point, or after you pass the exam, you become a CPHR candidate, which is actually something that you can put on your resume, put on your LinkedIn profile, and you can show employers that you're working towards your designation, and that's sort of a something that you can showcase to your employer or future employers.
That's so good to hear that it's very flexible as well. You know, students would really value that. And I love that you can also put on your resume while you're working on it, so people know that you're on your way to getting your designation. That being said, what are the primary benefits of obtaining your CPHR designation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Obviously, students want to know, what's the ROI for putting in the work and the time to do that. And so there's two sort of main things that people say that has helped them in their career. So obviously, holding a designation can advance your career and your salary. So we recently did a survey across Canada with all of our associations. We did it in 2001, and we worked with Insights West to look at professionals and their designation. And the survey results demonstrated both the perceived and actual value of the designation. So here's some stats that are interesting for your students. They might find this interesting. So 82% of the HR professionals feel that the CPHR designation has benefited their career. Specifically, you're going to earn a higher salary. So they looked at the salaries, and they're looked at about 107,000 as opposed to 87. So holding your designation is going to help you with a higher salary, and also because you're going to be more likely to be in a management position. So those people in management positions, 63% are going to hold a designation as to those without. So it's going to help you move into new positions, new opportunities, higher salary because you're holding that designation. The other area or the benefit of holding a designation is credibility and expertise. So, showing that you have a professionalism in the industry, that you're dedicated to being in the HR role, and that, we have over 7,600 members in BC and Yukon, and 70% of those either hold their designation or are working towards it. So that's a lot of people. And those are HR professionals in the business community. So, if you are up against a job opportunity and you hold the designation and somebody doesn't, you're going to be, 50% more likely to be able to advance into that position. So it's being asked for more and more. And especially, through the pandemic, we've seen how important good HR practices are, and we've seen growth in that area. So I think those are the two main buckets that students would want to consider as to why they'd want to work towards a designation. And the other thing is that it's a national designation. So mobility wise, you can move across Canada into different provinces, and we have connection with SHRM in the States. So we have a lot of our members who hold their SHRM designation. And so that gives them mobility to work in another country as well.
Oh, thank you so much for those statistics. And honestly, I think that here at BD, we know more than anything that kind of community aspect and being connected to so many people is also a really major part of kind of having that network, and it builds even more so than that 50% increase in job credibility. Awesome.
For sure.
Okay, so our next question is, how is the CPHR designation adapting? So we know that workplaces are consistently evolving, and how does the CPHR kind of pertain to that?
So that's also another great question. So with any designation, it's really important to make sure that it is up to date, and it's providing, the different skill set that a professional needs to work effectively in the workplace. And the CPHR designation goes through a regular review of the competency areas. And we just actually completed one just 2 years ago now. I guess we're in 2023. So CPHR Canada did a full review of the competencies, which feed into the designation, obviously. And that was relaunched in December of 2021. So all our new competencies and the framework there is up for people to take a look at, so the students can look at that. So there's 9 different HR specific competencies that they have, and 12 general competencies. So the specific ones for HR are things like innovation, workforce planning and mobility, inclusion, diversity, human connection. So all those really important things and things that you're going to be studying in school as well. And then the general competencies, which are things like ethical practice and leadership, personal agility, working digitally. So all those things that are very important in the workplace. So, you know, we're happy to say that that review of the competency areas just recently, we didn't have to tweak too much. They were really still relevant. We were really able to keep you know, those areas that are still being used by HR professionals on a day-to-day basis. And so, you know, going through that review process every 5 years or so really make sure that people who are working towards and earning their designation are relevant and it's practical for the workplace, because as you say, things are changing all the time, and especially in the last couple of years. So we're glad to have that, and a review is important, and that happens regularly.
It's so good to hear, and I'm glad that there is a system in place to make sure that keeps happening and that it is getting updated. As a student myself, Amar and I, we get it. Like, there is a worry about whether or not the career that we're going to be moving into is really going to be a good reflection of the current workplace and the current practices of the community. And so it's good that you guys have a system in place for that.
Yeah, and I was just going to say further to that, you know, we as a CPHR holder, you also have to have continuing professional development. And that's where you really tweak and stay up to date on best practices. So it's never, you know, learning never stops. So once you hold your designation, you're going to need to keep up with continual learning and growth. And that's an important part of holding a designation. And so while the competencies get reviewed, you as an individual and a professional need to also continually update and refresh. And that's where our professional development and the association comes into play to keep our members up to date with those kind of things.
Yeah, it's an amazing priority to have, because having the CPHR designation for many years still gives you good credibility because you are up to date with everything and aware of what's going on. Next up, we have, what are the benefits of joining this professional association as a student member?
Yeah, there's so many things that we offer. Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming for people, especially students, because sort of association is a little foreign. They're like, I don't know, what do I do? So, you know, just like you have your HR club at school, this is like an HR club for professionals, just a little bigger. And so we have so many things, and we do focus a lot of things for students to make it accessible. You know, we have things like professional development, obviously, for students as well as working professionals. We have a mentoring program, which you can take advantage of, research and articles and resources like our HR toolkit students use. And, you know, many of our webinars are free for our members to take advantage of. And for students, it really helps take the knowledge that you're learning at school and sort of putting it into a practical sense. So sometimes students are like, I don't know if I want to, you know, get into more stuff, lectures, etc. But the webinars really take it into a more practical, like what's really happening right now level. And then there's lots of things like networking, which is really important for students to get connected. We have things like roundtable discussions where you can come and talk with other HR professionals on different topics. And it's very welcoming. Students sometimes can be a little scared to step into those spaces, but our HR professionals are really open and they really want to help the next generation and let you know that you can come in. So we have those. We have something called the Career Advancement Network, which students should take advantage of. It has things like help with resume writing and LinkedIn profiles and interview skills. So we offer that for anybody, for our members, but students especially can take advantage of that. And then we have something else, which is our ongoing networking connection peer groups. We have Wake Up and Wind Down HR. They're sort of 1 hour sessions. Some are in the morning, some in the evenings. And those are great because they are very casual, very open to students. I've seen a lot of students come and really make great connections there for when they graduate, or even help them with stuff that they're dealing with, or even co-ops, things like that. And so, a lot of these things are virtual, even though we're back in person. We have kept a lot of things virtual, so students can join whenever they want, and with their busy schedules, you don't have to travel too far. No matter where you are in the province, you can join. And then, of course, we have in-person events and those kind of things, which are great to get front and center with your community. So there is so much. Those are specific things that our students really like to take advantage of. And as I say, it's kind of like a gym membership. You only get out what you put into it. So you really have to, pick and choose what fits your schedule. But I'm sure students will find more than enough to take advantage of when they join.
Awesome. And honestly, yeah, it kind of speaks to how it is rather like less a degree and more a designation, in the sense where it is kind of evolving and it keeps up to date with all the different stuff that you listed there, and also has different like kind of social elements. And it's also kind of taking the human part of human resources. It isn't, a financial designation or et cetera, where you really take the people part of it there. So I think that students would definitely appreciate that, especially.
Yeah, and you can join and then decide if you want to, pursue the designation. You don't have to hold your designation to be a member. So we have a lot of students join and just try and figure out if HR is the career for them. So, getting connected with people to talk about it and figure out, or what specialty areas. And so you don't have to start that until you know that you're ready to do it. We're here for all people and all individuals interested in HR. So if you decide it's right for you, that's great. And if not, then we're here to help you figure that out as well.
Awesome. Well, you have me sold. I'm going to be following up after this for sure. Actually, on that note, so for students like me right now, interested in pursuing this or interested in getting affiliated with your organization, how do we go about that? How do we sign up? Is there a way that we can contact you?
Yeah, sure. Well, our website's there all the time, so you can check us out at cphrbc.ca. And then you can contact me if you have any further questions at my email, qdavey@cphrbc.ca. And so happy to answer that. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I usually put a lot of stuff out there about upcoming events and things that are happening. So you can do that. And then, of course, we have all our social media platforms that you can follow us on. LinkedIn is our main one. So I'd encourage students to make sure they have a great LinkedIn profile, and but they can follow us on LinkedIn, and that's where most of our stuff goes out. We also have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't think we use it as much. We're not at TikTok yet, so.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe with more student members, who knows? But we'll put, for the listeners, we will put all these kind of links and Quinne's email into our notes when we release this podcast. So don't worry about that. It's all going to be there. But yeah, that's all our questions for today. Thank you so much, Quinne, for your time. It was really awesome hearing all your insights with your professional background and everything. And we can't wait for our listeners to be able to hear all of this as well. Thanks so much.
Yeah, excited. You're welcome. Very welcome.
Thanks again, Quinne, for all of that wonderful insight. I'm sure many of you listening will be quite interested in exploring further, so please feel free to visit the CPHR BC and Yukon website and their social media in the podcast description.
Similarly, if you like what you heard and would like more HR themed content, be sure to follow our socials, also included in the description. Our upcoming initiatives include our magazine, HR Times, and our upcoming pillar event, Spring Soiree X Envision, 2-time winner of Event of the Year.
We would also like to acknowledge our other sponsors: AGL Glazing, Clear HR Consulting, Katrina and the Team,
BD, HR West Consulting, and Goldbeck Recruiting.
Thank you so much for listening, and see you at the same
time
next
episode.